Hello and welcome to Tantra Tuesday. I'm Heidi, if we haven't met before, and I'm with Shemaya Tantra, where it's my job to help you get the relationships that your soul craves with your boss, your beloved, or your big toe. And I have a fire in my belly about what I want to talk to you about today. And the topic is sexual desire. Is this animal or divine? And I want to talk a little bit about our history with our sexuality and our desire, these two really scary, powerful, magical aspects of our existence. And I think that we have done a lot of suppression to our sexual energy because of our fear. And a lot of people struggle with the topic of sexuality when they're on a spiritual path because it seems like it might be difficult to be a good person or to pursue meditation or to be one with the divine if we're being sucked down into a cycle of repetitive sexual thoughts or sexual behaviors. And so due to the power of this urge, in so many instances, whether you want to look at our religions or our cultural norms or even the way that we talk to potential partners, the good part in us wants sometimes to shut down our sexuality, to keep everyone safe and to keep us on the straight and narrow path. I was doing some research. I primarily work with men in my coaching practice, and I have spent the last couple days doing an interesting research project, and I've been looking into the topic of circumcision. And I know it's controversial, but what I found really interesting was when I looked at the historical medical evidence around circumcision. One of the biggest reasons why it was implemented in the US is that it was a cure for, and this is a quote, I'm going to put this in air quotes, for illnesses such as masturbation. So one of the first reasons that this was brought in to the US medical system, and I was reading quotes of doctors, many quotes of doctors citing this, is to reduce our pleasure. And I don't believe this is a malicious intent. I think it's truly from this place of confoundment, of not knowing what to do with one's own sexual energy. And so that's what I want to focus on today, is hopefully we can unravel a little bit about this sexual mystery, why we feel so compelled to hurt ourselves and hurt others in order to keep on the straight and narrow. Why this seems sometimes contradictory to a right and good life. Now, as a human, we are in a really interesting position because we can be thought of as half animals and half gods. We're kind of a hybrid race in that way. And I had it explained to me once. I don't know if this is 100% scientifically accurate, but it was explained that if you look at the repeating patterns of nature, down from the smallest subatomic particle up to galaxies, that there's a pattern that repeats, and right smack at the center of the pattern is humans. And that we follow that exact same fractal pattern. We're dead center in the middle. And if that's true, it's kind of a challenging place to be because we are kind of being pulled in two opposite directions. And what does one do when they're half animal and half God? Now, most traditions, many traditions, actually tell us it's wrong to be an animal and it's wrong to be a god. And so we're kind of relegated into this Autobot, submissive, subservient human being who's being watched by a voyeuristic and sadistic God waiting to punish us if we do something wrong or reward us like a dog if we do something right. That's a common belief, but it's not an empowering belief. It strips us of both aspects of who we are as a human. Sometimes we also deny one of those sides in favor of the other. So some of times, maybe a period in your life, you didn't care about what's right, you didn't care about philosophy, you just wanted to go and do what feels good and follow the moment and not think too hard and not work on yourself and just let it all go. And that's kind of pursuing our animal side. That's kind of, I went through a period where I drank a lot when I was a kid and partied a lot, and I was sort of mindlessly pursuing these ways to pass time and ways to numb, really. So I was denying the God aspect. It really happens on the spiritual path a lot that we deny our animal aspect. And this is really natural. So I want to de-shame this a little bit to say that if you have this heart, this desire to search and to find truth, it's okay to prioritize that and to not want to be distracted by sexuality. That's okay. I get it. But if you repress that side of you, you're only going to be half awake and half alive. And I want to poke a little bit of fun with all due respect to this way of thinking. I've spent a lot of time in spiritual paths that taught us how to renounce our body, to not give in to the distraction or to the maya, the illusion of the physical world. And it's not incorrect, but I'd like to put a slightly different spin on it. And I'd like you to imagine what it would be like to say, if I go to the gym, I may get really strong. That's why you would go to the gym, right? And if I get really strong, I might hurt someone. I might get angry and I might hit them. I might be too heavy for someone when I'm on them. I might just get drunk with the power of my rippling muscles and start to dominate and domineer in social situations. And that may be true. That potential exists if we become big and strong in our bodies. So if we believe that truly, then we would say it's not safe to go to the gym, right? We would say, it's best for me and best for everyone that I stay at home and I atrophy, I not exercise my muscles, because that way it's safer for everyone. That way I can't hurt anyone. And I think this is really a very similar way of thinking to our approach with sexuality. So I'm going to use this metaphor in this talk about awakening and activating our sexual energy as a really similar concept to going to the gym and developing strong muscles. So what if we applied that thinking onto our sexuality? It'd be nice to activate and to enjoy the empowerment that comes with an open and self-realized sexual presence, but it could cause danger. I could be overcome by desire, and I could inflict that on someone who doesn't really want it. I could be distracted from my spiritual practice. I could be magnetized into sexual experience and lose sight of what's really important to me. And so for many practitioners, or just folks trying to do the right thing, we say, let's put that aside. Like the doctors, the early doctors practicing circumcision. Let's take that off so that it doesn't feel too good, so that it doesn't tempt us to pleasure ourselves. But what if you want to be more than just that Autobot, that submissive, subservient, disempowered person just following the rules, just trying not to get in trouble? And if you're watching this, you probably do feel that desire, because that's what Tantra's all about. Tantra's a courageous path because it asks us, like the samurai, to learn all of the skills, to acquire all the aptitudes, but to never use them in a moment of unconsciousness, to never use them out of honor or integrity with ourselves. And just like someone who's sitting on the couch not going to the gym for fear of hurting someone, just how they also aren't able to protect someone, they also aren't able to add the joy of picking someone up and swinging them around. We're not able to add the joy to the others in our life if we don't embrace and go on this journey of uncovering and integrating, healing and empowering our sexuality. So we have a choice. We can learn to live on the couch or shut down from our sexuality, or we can go on the journey to learn how to hold these powers in a good way, in an ethical way, in a spiritual way, because wow, they have so many applications. Your spiritual practice, maybe it's not the obvious way to think about it, but it will supercharge your spiritual practice. Your sexual energy will supercharge your spiritual practice if you know how to use it. So I teach a tantric technique to my clients called sublimation, which allows us to take a completely different approach where we don't have to shut down the energy, but we learn how to transmute the energy and alchemize the energy to get closer to our spiritual goals. So not further away, but faster towards what we're really going for. There's this famous book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it talks about achieving your business goals by learning to sublimate your sexual energy. So this idea has been around for a while. I think one of the really important things for us to realize is that it's not crazy to be afraid of our sexual energy. It's the most potent form of energy that we have, right? It's like that little atom of uranium that can create that nuclear explosion. It's the most powerful source of energy that we have access to. It can literally create life. And so it's good to have a healthy respect for it. It's essential to have a healthy respect for it. And anytime we're dealing with something of that magnitude, the level of consciousness that we bring just needs to be higher. You know, if we're going to be doing our nuclear research, we need to have high degrees of consciousness, of perspective, of ability to see the whole picture, or we're going to blow ourselves up and kill ourselves. And it's exactly the same with our sexual energy. We need to have a high degree of consciousness, a high degree of awareness. And in tantric terms, we would say the more Shakti there is, the more Shiva needs to be there. These are the two universal lovers. Shakti is the energy and Shiva is the consciousness. And they always need to both be there. We never want one of the lovers to be alone because they're what keeps our universe in balance. And so the way that I believe in, the way that I share and what I help my clients with is rather than killing Shakti, rather than repressing Shakti, our sexual desire, all we need to do is bring more Shiva to Shakti, more consciousness and more awareness. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is start to examine our beliefs. Start to examine how many of your thoughts and your words and your actions around sexuality are truly yours, or how many are someone else's voice in your head, whether that be the voice of our culture or a parent or a past lover. It's always so surprising when I work with people to realize that so much of what I thought was me was somebody else's tapes projected onto me that I am just perpetuating. And until I look at those tapes and give them back to the person that gave them to me, you can just ceremonially give them back. I'm going to be carrying those and I'm going to pass them down to everyone that I meet. So we need to examine what are the beliefs that I hold around sexuality. And then we need to start to develop the tools to hold this, the tools to be able to sublimate the energy, to be able to hold that and feel the benefits of it without necessarily needing to act out. And this is so hard. As a hybrid, we are half animal and half God. And in Tantra, it's all about uniting polarities. So we don't want to ignore one at the expense of the other. And this is why being human is so damn hard, right? Because we don't get to just say, all right, I'll let it all go and be an animal. Or I'm not being an animal, I'm just going to be this, perfectly sacred being on the mountain meditating. No, we get to balance on this delicate razor blade's edge of being simultaneously an animal and a god. That's not easy, but it is actualized. It is what I believe is our purpose. So to feel the biology, to feel the circuit of sexual energy as it's alive in you, and then hold that with a divine heart, hold that with a divine paradigm that fully accepts it, circulates it through your being, and channels it to your worship, channels it to your partner, to your family, to your life's purpose. That's when we become powerful. That's when we become magnetic. And I'm just getting so excited as I say this because I can feel this in my body. I hope that you can feel it too. The potential of these two coming together. Ah, so delicious. I'm just going to check in for comments so I can talk to you guys. Hello, Mahesh. Hello, Nicholas. Yes, good to see you. Great. Do you guys have any questions or any thoughts come up when you hear this? Yeah. Just encourage you to think about ways that you can balance this animal and this God over the next week. Have ways that you can hold both of them at the same time. That is our challenge. I wish you a beautiful night, and I will see you next week, same time. Please post your questions on the Shamaya Tantra wall. If you want to learn more about how to contact me, you can head over to shamayatantra.com, and there's lots more videos on YouTube at Shamaya Tantra. Have a beautifully divine and animal rest of your night.